What is happening at J Gamer Dude here, and let's talk about Nintendo versus the Scalper's Switch 2 edition. So you might be like, what does that mean? So effectively, what's been happening is scalpers have actually been buying up a lot of consoles as of late, whether it be the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X, and selling them for extortionate prices on eBay, on Amazon, and stuff like that. Effectively, I should really stop using the word. But yeah, with that being said, the only other time we've really seen a massive shortage of devices being sold that aren't the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles was definitely the Wii. The Wii was sold out everywhere, and you just really couldn't get a hold of it anywhere. The Switch did suffer a little bit of that, but it wasn't that bad compared to those other examples. With that being said, though, it looks like Nintendo, at least from what they're saying at the moment, is going to have an idea on how to stop Switch 2 scalpers in order to have enough to meet the consumer demand, which of course, when the console launches, is going to be absolutely massive. That being said, so this was all in an investor-focused Q&A that was translated by IGN. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa said things would be different when it comes to launching the Switch Successor. As a countermeasure against resale, we believe that the most important thing is to produce a sufficient number to meet customer demand, and this idea has not changed since last year, Furukawa said. In addition to this, we are considering whether there are any other measures that can be taken to the extent allowed by laws and regulations, taking into account the circumstances of each region. Although we were unable to produce sufficient quantities of Nintendo Switch hardware last year and the year before due to shortage of semiconductor components, the situation has now been resolved at this time. We do not believe that the shortage of components will have a significant impact on the production of the Successor's model. And that is interesting, that they've kind of gotten enough semiconductors in order to create more consoles. And even better, if they've been delaying the Switch console this whole time for them to have enough stock to be sold later on is great. And I did read the comments of this actual IGN article, and one guy did actually say it quite well. One of the commenters saying how they should do exactly what Valve did with the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck sold, and if they sold it, say like the Switch on the Nintendo site directly, so for each region site, so you have like the Australia site for some of us, in our region you would have the US Nintendo website, you would have the EU Nintendo website, and they would all be selling it through there, and you would need to log in order to pre-order, so it would be limited to one console per account. The only downside to that though is that if too many people try to rush the site, it'll cause outages and people won't be able to pre-order, and people will get mad and upset. And of course, there have been a lot of leaks and things like that happening from the retailers, and also retailers also kind of breaking street dates, so getting devices or games out before the actual release date, whether it be a day, 2 days, 3 days, up to about a week before the actual device releases, is kind of an unfortunate situation, and one I'm pretty sure Nintendo would not want to happen from their end or their perspective. It's just interesting to consider that they're fighting head on against the number of people, not the method by which they're selling the device or how people can look to pre-order the device in question. In May, Nintendo said it will finally announce a Switch Successor console within this fiscal year, so pretty much from now till before March 31st, 2025. Most likely it's probably going to be, if they're going to do the same thing they did with the Switch, which was announce it in October, November-ish, and then release it out by March the following year. Well, March or April of the following year, something along those lines. And of course, details did actually leak, supposedly, about the Joy-Cons being somewhat magnetic, and having some tech where the actual magnets of the Joy-Cons don't interfere with the components of the Switch successor itself, because obviously when you have a lot of electronic components put together in a single casing, magnets can actually really mess that sort of thing up. So it seems to be safer magnets, and at the same time I think this was also supposed to assist with, not causing any sort of reduction of the drift itself in the Joy-Cons for whatever the Switch 2 is going to be. But that being said, I feel like drift is still going to be a massive issue, especially with the new Switch, because that was a massive problem with the current Switch when it was released. It didn't take long for people to pretty much have stick drift on their devices, which is when, so just to provide a little bit of context, stick drift is when, if you say for example you're playing Mario, obviously you use the left stick to move around, but then if you're not using the left stick at all but you notice Mario is still moving, there are some components within the stick itself that's still causing movement, and that is what's referred to as drift. It's unintended inputs made to the game that is not actually being done by you as the person who is playing the game. I feel like there's an easier way of explaining it, but it's pretty much just the stick doing something even though it's in a neutral position and you're not touching it at all or controlling it in any way, shape or form. So yeah, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below, whether it be the possible release of the Switch 2 coming up, the magnetic Joy-Cons, or the facts, or how pretty much Nintendo is trying to tackle the Scalper epidemic, so to speak. It'll be interesting to see what everyone kind of thinks about this in the comments below. But yeah, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 300 subs by the end of the year. And with all that said and done, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.